Hey everyone, TJ here. Thanks for coming back for another segment of Michigan Conservative Roundtable. In this segment, I want to talk about Newt Gingrich. Last week, on the 21st, which I believe was Monday, he wrote a letter, I guess you'd call it an op-ed, in the Washington Times. And I don't read the Washington Times, so it wasn't until the 23rd, December 23rd, that the Right Scoop and the Gateway Pundit did an article on this op-ed that Newt Gingrich had written. I really suggest you guys go back and if you look in the timeline of the Gateway Pundit and both in the Right Scoop, you'll have to go back under the older stories. But they archive their articles, so by going back however many days you have to, you'll find it. And it's titled, Why I Will Not Accept Joe Biden as President. And as I share with you guys his letter, at the risk of preaching to the choir, read it because if you find yourself say debating a liberal or even a never Trumper or a Rhino Republican as to why you're going to take issue with Joe Biden being the next president, this gives you an excellent format to follow, an outline to the debate. And I'm going to touch on some of the things he said. And I've always liked Newt. Some people may not. Some people may think he's too establishment, but if he's establishment, he's got to be one of the most anti-establishment types in Washington. So, without further rambling, and I'm just going to hit certain parts of his op-ed here. He begins with discussing with a liberal friend of his, and I don't know how anyone could have a liberal friend, but I guess he knew a liberal and asked why he wasn't recognizing Joe Biden's victory. And he kind of compared it to, we accept the outcome of sporting events, so why wasn't he accepting what made the 2020 election any different? And for starters, is that how they view it, a sporting event? He then references how, as he was reflecting and thinking about the response to his friend, he was actually becoming angry. And then he writes, unlike anything I had experienced in more than 60 years involvement in public affairs. So basically, and yeah, 60 years is a long time to be in Washington, D.C., yeah. But he's thinking, in the 60 years he's been there, this has got to be the worst he's ever seen it. The challenge is that I, and other conservatives, are not disagreeing with the left within a commonly understood world. He writes, we live in alternate worlds. And what, did he just now come to that conclusion or what? But have we not known for quite some time they're in one world and we're in another? He references how his world, which would be our world, it's being destroyed. Our liberties are being canceled. Religions are under assault. And he references how a lot of these assaults are occurring through the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions put in place by the Democrats. And a lot of the millionaires and billionaires have only gotten richer. When you think of Amazon and Google and those types, because we're restricted, so we can't even really go out shopping. We just so we do online shopping, and those people get they get more money in their pockets. He references the FBI, and he defines it as criminal acts in not pursuing Hillary Clinton, but even worse, they're criminal acts in their attempts to destroy Michael Flynn. No secret there. He writes further, now people in my world are told it's time to stop resisting and cooperate with the new president, being Biden. But we remember that the Democrats wanted to cooperate with Mr. Trump so much, they began talking about impeachment before he even took office. And remember Rashida Tlaib, that was one of her mantras when she was running for office here in I want to say the Dearborn area where it's heavily Muslim. He references nearly 70 Democrat lawmakers boycotted his inauguration, and how the day after, Madonna announced she wanted to blow up the White House. Further down he cites Twitter and Facebook censoring the story about the Biden family and their China connection. He writes, the truth of Hunter Biden's story is now becoming impossible to avoid or conceal. The family of the Democrat nominee for president received at least $5 million from an entity controlled by our greatest adversary. He writes that it was a blatant payoff. He mentions Twitter censoring. On one day, Twitter censored 4 out of 5 of Rush Limbaugh's tweets. He writes, and as he cites all this, he kind of ends the paragraphs with, I fear for this country. Writes how millionaires like Zuckerberg spent $400 million in key targeted cities to maximize Democrat turnout without any regard for election finance laws. And then he ends the paragraph, he fears for the country. Apple has a firm rule of never irritating China, yet the NBA will kowtow to Beijing. He fears for the country. Story after story about election fraud, and it's being spiked in all the major medias. Cites a stream of allegations of outright fraud given the past election. Any one he feels would have been enough to sway the outcome differently. I mean, Georgia, Pennsylvania, our own home state of Michigan, Wisconsin. Officials. He writes, officials in virtually every swing state broke laws of their own state. And this takes me back to, I've been pounding the desk since spring that COVID-19 was being weaponized against Trump and us. He references the Texas lawsuit and how the Supreme Court wanted nothing to do with it. Them pussies. Virtually every swing state eventually suspended normal requirements for verifying absentee ballots. And he gives some stats here. Georgia rejection rates dropped from 6.5% in 2016 to 0.2% in 2020. Not even 1%. Pennsylvania went from 1% in 2016 to, and this is mind-boggling, 0.003%. It's hard to fathom a number that small. Nevada fell from 1.6 to 0.75. And in all these cases, he suspects it went disproportionately for Biden. Never Trump Debate Commission, the supposed debate commission that would kind of set up the debates between Trump and at that time nominee Biden. And he references how even these supposed Republicans on that debate commission were chock full of never-Trumpers. He kind of writes, this is just the beginning. But any one of those things alone is enough for Trump supporters to think now that we've been robbed by a ruthless establishment. Yeah, you think? He cites it as now they're only going to get more aggressive, corrupt and aggressive. For more than 4 years, the entire establishment mobilized against the elected President of the United States as though they were an immune system trying to kill a virus. Now they are telling us we are undermining democracy. The truth is, tens of millions of Americans are deeply alienated and angry. I have no interest, Newt writes, I have no interest in legitimizing the father of a son who Chinese Communist Party members boast about buying. Boast. Nor do I have any interest in pretending that the current result is legitimate or honorable. You go, Newt. His very last sentence and paragraph, he writes, I write this in genuine sorrow because I think we are headed toward a serious, bitter struggle in America. This extraordinary, coordinated 4-year power grab threatens the fabric of our country and the freedom of every American. I've always liked Newt. Like I said, he's probably one of the most anti-establishment types. Read it. It's an outline. It's an outline. Sooner or later, you're going to run into someone that's going to say, why can't you just accept the election? Well, right there, you use bullet points from Newt's letter, and that'll get you through the debate, I'm sure. Kind of hope this video doesn't get deleted. We'll see what happens with YouTube. I was joking with Mac about doing a kitty cat video. Introduce all my cats to you. Maybe that one will pass the muster. Okay? So that's it. Hope you watched it. And see you in the next one. As we say here at the Michigan Conservative Roundtable, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.